Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, the state of beauty tech. We are joined by our new editor-at-large for beauty, Selah Rui Li, who will report from Cosmoprof, the big trade show in Bologna that happened the other week, her observations from the beauty tech scene at large, and lessons learned from running her own beauty tech brand, Ellure. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here with my dear colleague Johan Magnusson, and welcome Selah Rui Li to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So good and so happy to have you on, and welcome to the team, and of course happy to have Johan back on the show as well. How are you, Johan?
Yeah, I'm good. Just back from Easter, and I noticed on social media that you had a great time as well.
For sure. Super happy to be doing this, and again, welcome Selah to the Scandinavian Mind team. I think people who has followed our events and the podcast feed have heard your name before. You have been a speaker to our beauty innovation events, but maybe we can just set this up a little bit and have a short description of you. Who is Selah Rui Li?
Hi everyone, I'm Selah. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ellure. Ellure is a tech platform that helps brands to customize and refill products on demand. We have an entire hardware and software platform to help brands to become more circular and sustainable. But I will talk more about our brand later on. And for my job at Scandinavian Mind, I gather my interest of tech and beauty, and if I go to cool events and I encounter some new trends, I will write it down as my observations for the magazine.
We're super happy to have you, and I think you're a Stockholm-based entrepreneur. We've been covering you for a few years, covering your journey with Ellure, and we're going to get back to that at the end of the show. But we also found a mutual interest in kind of covering the beauty industry from an innovation standpoint. And you actually traveled down to Bologna, the big trade show, Cosmoprof, the other week. We published a written report on this on the website last week, but I thought we'd get your observations here on the podcast as well. Can you just kind of get your first sense of this big trade show? What was it like visiting this space, and did it live up to your expectations? Just your general reflection.
So it's actually my first time to go. And before I go, everybody warned me it's going to be huge. It's going to be a lot of things. Johan gave me this tip that I need to take photos of people's name card with the stand, else I'm going to forget about everyone. So that's a great tip. Yes, so I would say the first impression is that it's massive. When I think it's many football stadium size of only cosmetic related stuff, from nail clippers to packaging to huge machines to brand to like contract manufacturers. I think you can find anything there. I think the what I observe is that the people that go there are either salon owners or they are running a brand and they're looking for contract manufacturers, and then the exhibitors are more like looking for those buyers. So you can really feel the vibrance and the business going on. Like you can see that if somebody is important, they're going to be invited to a special room in the back and then have champagnes and shake hands. Then a deal is done. So that's the general impression about the event.
Good stuff. And what in terms of kind of innovations, new technologies, kind of looking at the through the lens of sustainability, these are all topics that we of course cover quite a lot in Scandinavian Mind. What was it like, visiting the fair from this point of view?
Okay, I would say then it's not so positive. I was very excited to go to the event because there is a beauty tech section. like on the website it's not so much. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not updated, but actually when I go there, it is what is on the website. There are like 5 to 7 companies. I would say not super innovative. It's some about AR. We already know that for a long time. Some are about like marketing platforms and so on. There's one UK-based company that I found very interesting. That's the only beauty tech company that I found interesting. It's founded by a UK couple. They're both doctors. They spent decades of building an AI to formulate skincare algorithm. And I mean, if I look at the product, I think it has a lot of places to be improved in terms of marketing perspective, but I think the fundament and the technology they're building could be revolutionary in the decades to come. And I don't know if it's going to be them, but something similar would be very interesting.
What was the name of that?
It's called Precision Skin.
Right.
On-demand skincare is not new. Like there's bigger players called Functional Beauty, Curology, a lot in the States. But what many players are doing is that they have a larger stock keeping unit, and they use questionnaires to map consumers to those products. So on surface, it feels like customized to you, but to what level it is customized, it is not how to say, like many different brands take it differently, but it will not be made on demand. So, and it's not it's not customized at an ingredient level. That's why the Precision Skin is different.
Got it. Johan, we were not able to go, either of us, this year. That's why we're so happy to have Selah there. I'm sure you had a great sense of FOMO. But when reading Selah's report, what stuck out for you?
Yeah, first of all, I just need to emphasize the fact that you found one exhibitor out of more than 3,000 interesting and relevant. That's kind of a sharp eye, right? So then people need to read the report, but because then obviously you've only picked the cherry out of the all the stuff, right? No, but based on the report, I think it's next generation of refill that you were reporting about, and of course refill has also been around, as you mentioned, for a bunch of years, and it's very problematic, the safety of the packaging, because it's basically cosmetic products that we're talking about. So people are looking for food grade security, which means similar security to food products, as you found in grocery stores. So now when we have seen this development for a few years, it's obvious that the manufacturers of packaging has also leveled up to a certain degree, that they see this rise of refills, so they have to adopt, right?
Yeah. And what I found interesting is actually at retail, of course there are many brands that are doing it at retail level. For example, The Body Shop and L'Occitane, the French group. It's more or less a show, I would say, at retail at this moment. What I found interesting at Cosmoprof is that it is actually being promoted and have many locations for hair salons, which I think is the natural place for it to start, because if it is the hair salons, they also sell shampoos as a revenue stream. It's important for them, and they have to combat e-commerce, and this is a way for them to combat e-commerce and also get a very good retention and build customer relationships. And because they're more or less, there's no monopoly in hair salons, the smaller owners actually can take care of the right now quite cumbersome system to refill. So I would say it's a good place to start. That's my observation there.
So I've interviewed a bunch of executives about this phenomena with refill, and so far I've only heard one company mention that they can not make a fortune out of it, but that they have found a way to make it profitable and that it's a sustainable business, and not sustainable as in eco-friendly, but sustainable as something that they will not keep on investing in just for the sake of it in order to make it as a green statement or so, but that it's actually profitable, and that they see the consumer behavior has rapidly changed after the pandemic, and that it's a way for them to gain market shares and actually make money of, and not only just to show themselves as a better example.
Yeah, exactly. I think another part from this is that I would say, I mean, right now, the normal way of doing things is more profitable. Also because legislations are not straight enough to kind of ask brands to pay for the packaging cost. But as we see that the European Union is refining its packaging and packaging waste act, and also like Cosmetic Europe has already CE standard for refills. So I would say it is a way. I mean also that refill is, or like circularity is in the centerpiece of the European Green Deal. So sometime or in the near future, I would say there's another layer of cost, and if this cost is calculated in the business model of the brand, then refill would sound much more attractive than what it is nowadays.
But when you met the brands in Bologna, did they speak a lot about how much they're reducing plastic with refills, or because when you look at it, it's still plastic. It's just less plastic when you're using refills. We're not seeing that much material innovations in terms of packaging, and much of that is based on the fact that the food grade fact that I mentioned, that it's stuff that we're putting on our face. It needs to be secure stuff or secure packaging. It's difficult to switch plastic, right?
Yes, I think so. So I would say two things. If you observe Cosmoprof as a whole, I would say they have a special green, something like green cosmetics section. So when you go there, it is only about natural ingredients. So that's, I guess, the state of mind of the industry, what green means. It's not about sustainability of the whole value chain. It is about organic material. So that's one thing. And another thing, or sadly, if I go to those green brand and ask them, do you have refill? They're like, no, we don't have it. I was like, do you consider to launch it? They're like, no. They're very uninterested. So that's that. But with that being said, a lot of other brand outside the green pavilion has this more sustainable initiatives. And I would say from a packaging perspective and from a reusability perspective, perhaps plastic is not the best material to be used. In that sense, it could be aluminum or glasses, because these are material that has better durability. I would say, for example, glass is the best compatibility than anything, and it can also be reused forever. And the reason why plastic is needed for the packaging of cosmetics is because brands have to make the packaging cost low enough and the shipping cost low enough, because plastic is also much lighter than glass. But if the glass is already in place and the consumers only need to go to the, let's say if it's a shampoo, then they only need to go to the hair salon to refill it, then we solve the other two problems. Then glass is back into the game. There are a lot of companies in the UK that are actually doing it. There's a company called the More Than Milkman. They're imitating the milkman model of the past and refill like household essentials with glasses and aluminum jars. Of course, this sounds a little bit utopian, but I would say we already know how to do it. We just need to start doing it again.
It's fascinating that it's a fact that the trade fair Cosmoprof is based in Italy, and in Central and Southern Europe the conversation is completely different than in the UK and the Northern Europe. the thing that you mentioned about sustainable skincare being natural or organic skincare. The conversation is completely different than what we're used to here in Scandinavia, right?
I would say to a certain extent, yes. I would say in the Nordics, the ideas of what sustainability means as a whole is penetrates much more consumers' mind than what it is in Italy. But still, I would say even here there's a lot of focus on ingredients that are organic. Yeah, I would say it's not really about how to make the whole industry more sustainable. It's more, I mean, it's also much, I understand the reason, because if something is more organic, it feels better for me as a consumer, so I understand the value, I will pay for it. But if you say, okay, but this saves this much CO2, but then in the end the product doesn't change, there are a lot of reports about consumers willing to pay for more, even especially Gen Z. But I would say, based on the experience I have with a lot of customers from our side, they still find it difficult to use that as an evidence to actually factor in sustainability into their whole supply chain.
Let's take that step and zoom out a little bit, because it's interesting, and I want to get into your own observations as an entrepreneur as well. But let's take a little bit of a global perspective for a moment, and because I know you have a keen eye on the industry at large. Where do you see the most innovations? Where do you see the stuff that you're most excited about in terms of new technologies or new developments? Is it Northern Europe? Is it the US? Is it Asia? Where is it happening right now, do you think?
There are two parts. I feel like if we talk about ingredient level innovation, for example, a lot of people talk about scope 3 ingredients and so on, then I would say it's more or less in Europe. If we talk about regenerative ingredients and so on, phasing out the oil and gas industry products into like more bio-based products, then I would say in Europe. But if it's more about innovation in business model and technology as a whole, I would say in the US is much more progressive than here. I would also say that, I mean, as an entrepreneur, my observation is that we have a lot of U.S. venture funds reach out to us and trying to invest in us. We have we didn't accept it, but there's no European fund that wrote me and say, hey, we are very interested to this. You are the future. Let me invest in you. So you can see the openness to technology is also different.
Let's use that as a segue to talk about Ellure and your own entrepreneurial journey. Talk a little bit about how this all started for you, and why did you want to get into this space?
I think it's a really fun story. So I am Chinese. I moved to Europe 10 years ago and to Sweden 5 years ago. I'm here to study at the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. So it was in 2017 when I arrived. And when I arrived, it was also around the time that Fenty Beauty was launched. So I went to the shopping mall in the city center, I think it was Åhléns, and I saw that there's a lot of foundation on the shelf. And I'm an engineer by training, and I was looking at it and I was thinking about how do they handle the logistics. And then I realized after I've done my research, I realized that they don't really handle it very well. There's a lot of waste in the industry, and that got me thinking. And at the time I was working with robotics, I was working with 3D printing, and I asked myself, why couldn't people produce it differently? Why don't they do it on demand so that there is no waste and it actually fits everybody better?
That's how I think I discovered you the first time I saw your little 3D printing contraption. I think it was out at the Stockholm Fashion District. You've since developed the business model. I think this was a couple of years ago. Talk about how this has progressed for you guys and how you've developed the company.
It's a very fun journey. In the beginning, it was like a few classmates and me, we trying things in my kitchen, and we got supported by KTH Innovation. We registered the company, and we started actually wanting to do the most difficult thing. We want to do a customized lipstick, because that's about the smallest thing you need to do in customization. And what we can also do is to do a 1 milliliter sample. That is, I would say, nobody can do it smaller. So the reason why we want to start with the most difficult is because then we know that we can do anything else. So we started with the brand in 2019. It was going very well. We were mostly selling online. We were doing a lot of activation events. We were at TikTok. We were at a lot of, you saw me at the fashion district. And we took a turn to become more B2B, because a lot of brands start to knock on our door and say, hey, but this is very interesting. Do you want to have a collaboration? Can we have this? And because our vision is to make beauty more circular and without compromising consumers' choices and make it inclusive, we were like, it make much more sense for us to give this technology away to other brands, so everybody can join forces together and make a bigger change than us trying to do a boutique lipstick brand in Stockholm. And that's why we started doing B2B, and right now we have several clients doing perfume, nail products, foundation, and also we have our own lipstick.
And how do you see the company progressing? I mean, you're operating here in Sweden and the Nordics now. Do you want to take this back on the global stage? Where do you see the interest? Where do you see the potential?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, we are based in the Nordics because I think the consumers here, like we talked about before, understands another level of sustainability than just organic ingredients. So that's a really good place where we start. But definitely we see a bigger market in Central Europe or in the States or even in China. I would say once this model is pioneered good enough, then we will be able to scale quite fast, because then for us it's about the software just scale itself, and about the robots that we're building, we are already setting up supply chain so that we'll be able to face the demand when we scale up. And I would say right now I also see a high growth in brands that want to do customization, and we are getting ready to help those brands to be able to do that. So it will be also not only that we grow by ourselves, we also growing together with a lot of other brands that are doing customization. And something else that we see that are very interesting right now is refill, because we know that refilling is much more sustainable than recycling, and we see that with our technology it's much more beneficial for refill, because normally if a brand wants to do refill, they need to have a one-to-one relationship between an SKU and the final product. That result in a really big installation in the retail store. With what we can do, we can significantly reduce the space, and we also have the sweet spot of adding customization to the service. So for consumers, to do refill is going to be a much more interesting experience as a whole, and for brands this would also save them a lot of retail space and also potentially make this service much more interesting for consumers.
Yeah, and also it enables it's one of a few examples that can enable scalability in refill, right?
Yes,
exactly. If you're not L'Occitane or the Body Shop that has they both have in-store solutions, but they're also among the biggest players in the world, right? So
yeah, exactly. I would say even if you're L'Occitane or the Body Shop, you should come to us, because what we can do is much more I would say what we can do is much more automated, and it would significantly reduce the training time of the store employee. And as the new CE requirement, the CE standard point out, the brand would be the new responsible person for the refill. And if that happens, and if you have a not so well trained person at store, then you face a lot of uncertainty for your product quality. But if this is replaced by a robot and the store personnel just need to press start, you eliminate a lot of these challenges for your product quality, because you give everything to technology, which is much more reliable than a store personnel.
All right, Selah, thank you so much for sharing your journey, and we've been covering it and following it. It's been so fascinating. What are some of the next steps you're looking at right now that you're excited about? What are some of the challenges you need to overcome? Anything on the horizon right now?
As mentioned before, refill is one of my newest project, or one of our newest directions. So we are actually looking at installing a permanent stand in Stockholm. So we are collaborating with a lot of local sustainable products or circular products. And of course, we are working with a lot of innovative brands that actually want to make a difference. I think we should be able to launch a few products this year that are in different categories. And I think if you are into beauty innovation, you should get ready for it, because it's going to be super cool.
Good stuff. If you're into beauty innovation, you should also continue following this podcast feed, as well as our 2 newsletters. Visit Scandinavianmind.com, our newly updated, newly designed website we are so proud of. And Selah, you're much welcome back to our feeds with your reporting from Stockholm and the world beyond. Thank you so much for doing this for us this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.